Well, welcome to Legacy. We're back here this week with David and Shirley Walker. We've kind of been away. We've been going different directions. We've had all kinds of people in here. I mean, last week we had a real outlaw crew. It was Shirley and Tex and Lida Smith with talking about the ministers' wives and the retreat and conference that you had. And so I've heard reports that really went well.
Thanks for the opportunity to share about that last week.
Well, I know it'll be a blessing to a lot of people. And I hope that people who have know people in ministry and have spouses will tell them to go to our archives and watch that, because that'll be a blessing to them. Such a need, such a need. But David, I'm glad that you're here this week, and
thank you, Sammy.
And we're just looking forward to this. And
you guys continue to cover the world with ministry and the love of Jesus, and this is interesting because we have these scheduled taping times, and it's also time for us to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, and actually we're going to be here in San Antonio through the end of the year, so we're excited about that. Being home, I can be in church.
Well, we'll dust off your pew. I'm teasing.
No, you're not.
Yeah, somebody got in our place last Sunday.
Oh, they did.
But we're just excited to be here, and you know, one of the things that we're coming into the season of the holidays and things, and I know there's a lot of memories, good, bad memories, both. But I thought it'd be good for us to talk about memories and how to build memories, and what are some of the memories we've experienced in our families that both spiritual, practical, whatever. And so I'm getting old and I forget things, and I know you just had a birthday and here recently, but what are some of the things that you guys come from a real strong Christian heritage, or you do anyway, David? I know, and what are some of the memories that you recall?
Well, I do have some as a child growing up of just a real godly grandmother, my mother's mother, who had a difficult marriage, but she was a very brilliant lady. She had a degree in chemistry and something else, kind of a double major from a university, and a lot of potential in her life early on. She married, and it was a difficult marriage, and yet in the process of all that, she just continued to grow and flourish. And this was in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. And she would come to see us. We lived in Longview, up in East Texas, and she was just such a praying woman, little lady. But I remember, Sammy, drifting off to sleep a number of nights when she'd be there in our home, and she would be in the bathroom that I shared with my sisters, kneeling down on a hard linoleum kind of floor, tile kind of floor, no rug, with her little elbows up in a chair, and just it wasn't a whispered prayer, She would it's like she was talking to the Lord who was in the room, pleading with the Lord, reasoning with the Lord, calling. I'd hear my name being called out, and I'd hear her crying. It was so natural, but it was beyond what a child. I mean, who's she talking? Well, she's talking to the Lord. I had enough of that, but He seemed so real to her. And I think my two sisters and I remember that very vividly. We called her Mama, and she prayed, and she would not stop praying. My mother would fill in these gaps later on, that she wouldn't just pray that we would grow up and we'd come to know Jesus as Savior and we'd go to church and we'd be nice people. She would pray the fire of God would burn in our hearts, that we'd long for Him, love, we'd be champions for Christ. She just was looking on out into the future, and we were little bitty, cranky, ornery little guys. So.
That's really interesting. I've been working, we'll be talking about it in the next few weeks, but on this thing, praying for your family, this initiative that we're going to launch. But as I've started sharing that with people, one of the most interesting things to me is that people's response immediately is, if they come from a Christian background, is, oh, well, let me tell you about my dad, Brian Kendricks. Brian. Yeah. He told me, he says, as kids growing up, that one of his deepest memories was that there was a certain time in the evening that you didn't go into mom and dad's bedroom. They'd be running and playing with kids, you know, but there was a certain time because they would be down there praying.
Goodness.
On their knees. And he never forgot that.
Boy.
And, you know, Brian, he's a CPA, but
Yeah.
godly man. And it's interesting how just seeing that progress in the lives of our parents or grandparents, what kind of impact that makes on us.
You know, the other night, on my birthday night, they had asked me, you know, what do you want to do? So I wanted to go get Mexican food. And then we would go out to the new Bass Pro Shop and walk around in this outdoor kind of place. But on the way out there, our oldest daughter, Abby, and Evan, our 18-year-old, soon-to-be 18-year-old son, we listened to them talking about things that they remembered out of their childhood. And usually it had to do with some dumb something I had done, some frustrating point, you know, and I acted like an idiot. But I think in the light of that, you know, what do we sense that our kids remember? And it can be, because not all this, and I hope this doesn't get us thrown off the program, but I don't know that it's all supposed to be just super spiritual stuff. You know, my grandmother was praying, or, you know, we had Bible studies, you know, every morning at 6. But some of what makes a home good and that kids want to return to, I think, is just there were parts that were so enjoyable, that were
We had a time, I can remember us growing up, my dad, we were transferred from Texas, Louisiana later, but we had a place where my dad and his sisters and us built by hand. We'd probably call it the cabin. It was on a body of
cabin
water.
is a real nice. I've seen pictures
Looked like,
of it.
I mean, it had a tin roof, woods. The kids slept out on the what do you call it, porch with screened in row of beds.
Yeah.
But we'd go down there almost a lot of weekends, and we'd spend the summer down there with our cousins. And I can just remember as a family that we were together. I mean, we would play, we'd laugh. Those are some memories that I had.
Yeah.
And that has transferred over with our kids. There are times that, in fact, we were with our daughter and son-in-law last night, and we were laughing about talking about vacation. She said one of the most fun vacations we had, we were at a beach and just together, just being together, just playing together and interacting.